Good morning, class. Welcome to another session of political science. Today we'll be discussing about our next chapter, that is rights. So what are rights basically? So there are various definitions by different people. One of that is a right is essentially an entitlement or a justified claim. Other to this, there is one another definition that states that rights are those conditions and guarantees which the state would provide to every citizen in order that he or she may attain his best self in society. So another important thing is that what are the basic characteristics of rights. Now, right is a claim of the individual. Right is recognized by the society. Rights are available only in the society. In jungle, if you go and talk about rights, none of the animals will turn up. So human beings follow it in the society. Then rights are responsible and moral. Other than this, rights can be used for public good. Rights and duties go together. Then rights are also enforced by the state. So these are certain features or characteristics of rights. Now, another important question: where do these rights actually come from? So, if we talk about the old thinkers, say 17th and uh, 18th century, or even prior to that, then the political philosophers and thinkers, they stated that these rights are given to beings by nature or by God. So they claimed that these rights are man has derived these rights from natural law. That means a person has three natural rights: the right to life, the right to liberty, and the right to property. So, this was the very basic concept. Now, other than this conception, um, we have also observed in history that there was an exercise of arbitrary power by states, governments, and even kings from time to time. But in recent years, the term human rights is being used more than the term natural rights. And this is the basic idea that natural rights can be manipulated. But when we talk about human rights, then these rights are essentially those rights that whether a person is educated or not, whether a person is fair or not, a person is a man or a woman, or a person is financially strong or not, whatsoever the case might be, but just being a human being, every human is entitled to certain rights. For example, right to have a dignified life, right to have equal respect in the society, that is dignity only. Then certain other rights variate from state to state or country to country, but other than this, a person is entitled for food, shelter, and opportunities of making money or of an employment. Now, when we talk about these rights, we find that in our present society there are still many ill practices ongoing. Practices like untouchability, then practices like slavery. So, modern slavery is also one of them, bonded labor. Then, moreover, people have to indulge in certain activities in which they are not interested, but they don't have any other option just because of they are entitled or they are being controlled by other human beings. So this is also one of the aspects of bonded labor itself, but especially women and children, they become prone to such treatment, and we are still trying to work in this direction for mm, stopping the infringement of the dignity of these people who are vulnerable, specifically like women, like the people who belong to the tribal communities which do not have proper exposure, and likewise. So, other than this, we'll be talking about the concept of human dignity by Immanuel Kant. See, students, Immanuel Kant, he has been talking about, he was a German philosopher of 18th century, and he has this simple idea, which is very deep though. He means that he meant that every person has dignity, and with due dignity that person should be treated. He states that everything, anything or everything might have two aspects. Either the thing has a price, either the thing has a dignity. So if there is price, that means most probably the thing is non-living. But when we talk about dignity, we are talking about living beings. So whether the person is rich, poor, educated, even sometimes these people are immoral, dishonest, untruthful, but still he states that if a person is a human, um, he or she is entitled for dignified treatment, and the way we treat others should be the way that we want to be treated, for the way of treatment for our own self. So here he represents his view, and he calls it a moral conception of rights. Now let us move further. What are legal rights and the state? See, students, the words state and legal represent each other. Until and unless there is a dignified or demarcated boundary, there cannot be an existence of state or nation. Then if the state approves, or if the state wants to look into, then only those rights would be legal rights. Means the rights which are authorized or allowed by the state are known as legal rights. Now these legal rights also have parts or types. For example, they might be social rights, there might be political rights, and of course fundamental rights. So these rights are being followed or given by the state under a due constitution, and these are meant to be followed by all the citizens with all due respect. So when we talk about social rights, then we have to maintain social justice, we have to look into the rights of each other, we have to respect each other's rights. uh, and right does not means that we are entitled to do whatever we please. It's not like that, in the name of right I can dress up in any manner and I can walk to the school. No, this is not allowed. So definitely rights are freedom by the state, but within due dignity or constraint. So you have to be very careful when you talk about this concept of rights. Now when we talk about fundamental rights in Indian context, then our constitution has enshrined these fundamental rights. Right to equality, number one. Second one, right to freedom. Third one, cultural and social rights. Fourth one, right to constitutional remedies. And fifth one, right to freedom of religion. And the sixth one is right against exploitation. So these are six fundamental rights that we are enshrined by. Our constitution has provided us with these six fundamental rights. Now, various constitutions have followed this charter of rights from time to time, and mostly all the democracies, they have this charter of rights incorporated in their documentation. Now, other than this, another aspect is As I told you, there are various kinds of rights. So I explained you that they might be social, they might be political. For example, that you can cast your vote under political rights, you can contest elections under political rights, and likewise. So when we talk about rights and responsibilities, then it is a very big responsibility for each and every citizen, because rights and responsibilities, or in other words, rights and duties, they go hand in hand. And rights and duties are never separable from each other. That means if you claim that you only have rights and no duties or responsibilities, it might seem very unbelievable statement, because the right of one person has the boundary where the rights of the other person begins. So definitely we have rights, but along with these rights we have to follow the duty of cherishing the rights of others also, of respecting the rights of others also. So duties and rights, they go hand in hand. First and foremost, we need to understand that being a citizen, we have rights like uh, being a citizen, we are entitled to fundamental rights, then we have political rights, then we have our social rights. But then comes the other face of the coin, and that is that duties are also there. For example, being a citizen, protection of ozone layer, minimizing air and water pollution, maintaining the green cover by planting new trees, prevention of cutting down of forests, maintaining of ecological balance. These are certain other things, duties that we essentially have to follow being a citizen. So they represent the common good for all. Now, the second aspect of this is that I need to respect the right of others. If I say I must be given right to express my views, then also I must be ready to listen to the views of others also. The third aspect of the same point is that we must balance our rights when they come into conflict. For instance, for example, my right of freedom of expression allows me to take pictures, but this does not mean that I can take a picture of a bathing person in his or her house, and I can post it on internet. No, this would be the violation of the right of that person's privacy. So I cannot violate the right of privacy of that person. So here certain limitations and constraints are also to be looked into. The fourth aspect here is that we have to be very vigilant about our limitations. Just having negativity that some constraints are there, but as I told you in my previous classes also, that constraints are very essential for every human being. Why? Because if constraints are not there, then we might turn into a chaotic society. So we should respect these constraints imposed by the society, or by the law, or by the state. So this much for today. Please go through the pages of your chapter, and if you have any doubt, please do feel free to ask. Thank you.